Hello, welcome back to HR Simplified, the podcast where we break down everything about people and workplace in plain English. No jargons, no corporate nonsense, just real talk simplified. Everyone can understand whether you're a HR professional or not. I am your host, Dr. Omo, founder of HR. It's a platform where we mentor emerging HR professionals. So reach out if you want to be mentored. Today, we're talking about a topic that I really genuinely love, and it is how to become an HR professional. You don't want to miss it. So stay with me, stay with me. This is the podcast for you, whether you're a student, you're still in secondary school, you're thinking career, you're already in a career you don't love, and you're thinking, should I go into HR? I didn't start as a HR professional myself, so maybe I'll tell you a short story of how I moved into HR on my own. So yeah, welcome. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. This is how you can encourage us to keep doing this. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, comment, share. Tell us, what you think about what we're doing here and what we need to improve. So this episode, again, like I said, it's for the young people who's trying to figure out what to study, the school leaver who is weighing options, or someone who's already working but wondering whether they want to switch to HR career. By the end of today, you will know exactly what HR as a career looks like, what subjects to study, what qualification matter, and how to get your foot in the door. Let's get into it. Section 1. What kind of career is HR really? First things first, HR is not a job, it's a whole career world. So, what do we mean? You can work in a hospital, you can work in a school, you can work in a bank, you can work in a council, in a tech company, in a charity. Virtually every organization that employs people needs someone to look after those people. And that someone is HR. So it's a whole world of career that is found everywhere. Everywhere people work. And I think now they're beginning to talk about robotics, how we can manage robots, because some robots are working. In fact, there are people muting the idea of changing it from human resources. So maybe it's going to be human and robotic resources. I don't know. But anyways, wherever, for now, we can take the definition to mean that wherever people work, HR is needed and HR needs to be there. One brilliant thing about HR is that the work is varied. So you can spend your whole career working with people day to day as a HR advisor, or you can become a specialist in pay or recruitment or learning and development or equality and inclusion. Remember, we tried to explain some of the roles in episode 3, so that we broke down the roles in episode 3. If you have missed that episode, please go and watch it so you understand the different roles that are available to you in HR. You could rise, become a chief people officer sitting on a board, or shaping, a head of HR. Whatever the title is, HR is a career that grows with you. The more life experience, emotional intelligence, and curiosity you bring, the better you will get at it. So HR is not just about knowing the rules, it's also understanding. It's about understanding people. I dare say that for you to be able to prosper, grow, and do well in the world of HR, you have to be a people's person. You cannot be a person that does not like people and then want to work in HR. So did you know that you can choose HR at school? Most people do not choose HR at GCSE level because most schools do not teach it as a named subject. But that does not mean your choices at school do not matter. They really do. Here are some of the choices of subjects that you can choose at GCSE level that will set you up brilliantly for a career in HR. Number 1, English language and literature. Because HR is a communication profession where you have to deal with people a lot. Your communication skills need to be top. You will write policies, you write reports, you write letters, lots of emails. You will need to be able to explain complex things easily and clearly to people. So strong English is not negotiable. Mathematics, HR uses data. So you work with salary data, absence statistics, survey results, workplace reports. So you should be at least comfortable to an extent with numbers. I was never so good at maths myself, mathematics in itself, but I was excellent at business mathematics. I don't know how to explain that. So when you start talking things like algebras, the x minus y plus z, and you just lose me, I get totally lost. But when you talk about three men took 10 days to do a job, how many days would it take 5 people to do it? So, but anyways, it got me through. Business math was okay to get me through. Then you've got to be able to have studied at least business studies. That's a good foundation for how organization works and what businesses are like, the commerce area of business. So that will help you to be able to fit into a larger picture. Another course that will be good for you at GCSE level is sociology or psychology, because of course, these are studies that help you to understand people, the way they behave and what they do. Again, remember, people are the heart of what we do in HR. Then another course that can be useful is history or politics. This builds your analytical thinking, help you to understand power, context, human behavior. So all of this is also useful in HR. At A level or equivalent A level, you can do business, you can do psychology, sociology, economics. My first degree was in economics, and law. They are all brilliant building block also for going into the HR career if you're looking at it. But here's the honest truth. HR is a career that welcomes people from all academic backgrounds. So again, remember we told you, because you can work in any field, in any area of work, it's important that you have some background knowledge of where you're working. So whether you are a nurse now and you want to become a HR professional, totally good. You studied English and literature, you want to become a HR professional, that's still good. You are a teacher now, you want to go into HR like me. I started out as a high school teacher before I went into HR, or even engineering. All of this work. So what matters is your curiosity about people, your love for people, your integrity, and your willingness to keep learning. With universities, apprenticeship or working your way up, that's another question that confuses people. Should I go to a university to go and study and get a degree in human resources? Should I go through apprenticeship, or should I just go into HR after my GCSEs and my high school diploma and then work my way up? There's no single route to it. So there's no hard fast rule on how you should get into HR. Let's walk through the main ones that we've just talked about. A university degree. A degree in human resources, business with HR, psychology, or related subjects can give you a strong foundation. Some universities offer degrees that are accredited by the Chartered Institute of Personnel Development, because we're in the UK, or any other chartered institute where you're watching this from, which is a professional body. And that means that because they are accredited, once you graduate, you have both your degree and an accredited qualification. You see the advantage. Once you graduate as with your BSc or from the university, then you automatically also have that professional qualification, which makes you very attractive to employers. But a degree is not the only way in, and it does not mean that that's the fastest. If you can't afford a degree, we all know that degrees are expensive. I don't know about where you are, but in my country, the country where I currently live, degrees are really, really expensive. So maybe you want to go straight into the professional route. I know that here in the United Kingdom, CIPD offers routes from level 3 foundation to level 5. You become an associate and you get an associate diploma. Then you move up to level 7 where you now become a chartered. You get that advanced diploma at the senior level. So you can study with CIPD from your high school diploma. You can go straight with CIPD, study with them, start with the foundation, go to your associate program and the advanced diploma. That's another way to go through it. You can study this qualification also at colleges. Some colleges affiliate with CIPD to provide them. You can also study them online, so you don't have to go straight to colleges or universities to go and be a full-time student or live on campus. Some also provide this through apprenticeships. So what are HR apprenticeships? HR apprenticeships are brilliant ways to also get into HR career. And sometimes in many places, they are underused. You can do work now as HR support worker, so you can start maybe at administrative level and then do what we call the HR support apprenticeship at level 3, or a senior people's professional degree apprenticeship at level 7, which means you earn a degree and you also still get the professional qualification while being paid to work. So this is one of the best kept secrets in HR careers. And honestly, I cannot recommend it highly enough because you're getting work experience, you're getting paid, you're getting your professional qualification. You are also at the same time earning a degree. It can be intense and it will require lots of diligence and dedication to achieve, but honestly, it's one of the best ways that you can get into the HR job. The other is to work your way up. So many experienced HR professionals that we have today started as HR administrators or receptionists in an HR team. Some just dabbled into it. They learned on the job. They studied part-time. They built their expertise as they were, working at the same time through real-world experience. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with that also. In fact, some of them have often come out as having a very, very strong depth of practical knowledge compared to those who have gone and learned in a classroom. Whichever way you choose, the decision is yours. It will depend on your current circumstances, what your goals are, where you are also located, because I know that I've just spoken very well about apprenticeships, but they don't work in every country. In some countries, they're not available. So your circumstance, where you are, what your goals are, should determine your choice, really. And as you can see, there are a lot of choices available for you to choose from. So what skills do you really need? Let's talk about skills, because certification is not only what matters in terms of the HR career. I have mentioned one very important skill, and that is that you must be a people's person. For me, I think that's not negotiable. You cannot be someone who does not like people, don't like to be around people, don't like to grow people, don't like to talk to people, don't like to work with people, and do well in the HR career, because HR is all about people. Beyond that, what do we need? 1, emotional intelligence. The ability to understand how people feel, manage their own emotion, and manage your own. So you need to be able to manage your own emotions and then manage the emotions of others. Ability to respond with empathy. This is very, very important, because there are lots of people are dealing with a lot, even outside of work. And unfortunately, these things they are dealing with outside of work begin to affect work. So if you are not an empathetic person, you will not be able to see beyond, oh, what's going on? This person is always coming late. Why are they coming late? How can I support them? To be early at work. Are there issues at home? 2, communication. As we have mentioned earlier, you must be able to write clearly, speak confidently, listen deeply, listen to what people are saying, and sometimes what they are not saying. Of course, that's where the emotional intelligence also plays a key role. You also need to be able to explain complicated things in simple languages, because you're going to be supporting lots of people at different levels, and their understanding at those levels will also vary. Integrity and discretion. This is really, really key, because we handle a lot of sensitive information. We handle some sensitive people's data. So you must be somebody that we can trust completely, that is trustworthy, that has integrity. The other thing is resilience, because HR work can be emotionally demanding. As some would say, it's a thankless job. You will deal with conflicts, you will deal with distress, you will deal with complex situations, you will deal with people's emotional struggles. Sometimes you even get blamed for decisions that were not yours. You have to put out fires you never started. Sometimes you give advice it's not taken, and then issues arise, and you are still expected to put out those fires. You have to be able to hold your ground with compassion. Hold your ground with compassion. The other thing is curiosity. The best HR professionals never stop asking why. We never stop learning. We never stop researching. We keep asking questions. Why is this happening? What's driving this behavior? What does data tell us? Because this will guide our decision making, and this is how we can also guide others, especially at strategic level. Fairness. HR requires an unwavering commitment to treating people equitably, even when it is difficult. So you have to be able to be somebody who treats everyone fairly. You don't have to be born with some of all of this. Many of them can be developed. Many of them can be learned. Knowing that they matter and then working towards developing those skills is what is really important. Let me share you a little story of my own about how I got here. I did not set out to be a HR officer. In fact, at the time I was going to university, I never knew anything about HR, actually. So my first degree was in economics, like I said earlier. But I started out as a teacher. So my dad said, "Oh, you're a born teacher." And I had done some certificates in education before my first degree. But it was a certificate in business education. So I kind of had a business background, which is what I was saying earlier on, that the business foundation gives you all of that at that college or secondary school level. So I was a teacher, and I taught for 10 years in a high school. I realized that I'm someone, at that point was when I realized that I'm someone that loves change. I like to see change in people. I like to support people to bring their best to, whatever situation. I have started talking to people, mentoring people who were not just my students. And then I decided, well, let's see how I can do this better. One day I went to the computer, I sat there, I said, this is me. This is what I am currently doing. There was no AI then. I think it was just Google. Google had just come out, and I was just still experimenting the use of computers then. This is me. This is my nature. This is my kind of person. It's what I've discovered about myself. I'm an empathetic person. I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. What kind of job roles, what kind of career do you think will suit me? And the computer said HR. So I went again. How do I become a HR professional in my country, in the country I was then living, my home country? So, and that was it. I found CIPM, the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, who is a sister body to CIPD in the UK, where I currently live, and applied. I wrote my exams. I got my professional diploma in personnel management. I moved from being a high school teacher to first becoming an admin officer. So all the while I was writing the professional exams, I was just what you would call an admin officer. With time, my growth was really rapid, because I went on to get lots of other formal education, an MBA, HR, a PhD, and all of that. So I genuinely love my job. As you can tell, it's also part of why I'm doing this podcast. I'm trying to make sure that everyone understands what HR is about and how they can become me, or become like any other HR mentor that, they admire. So this is where I am. I have gained a lot of experience. I've worked as a healthcare assistant. I've worked in the social care sector. I've worked in public services. I've done L&D. I have trained the trainers. I've done, I worked in South Africa at one time as a training specialist. I think I've done almost every aspect of HR, recruitment. And so, yeah, today I'm a strategic HR business partner. And it's because of all of this generalist experience that has brought me here. So your path does not have to be straight. That's what I'm just trying to say by telling you my story. It doesn't have to be straight, but you can be deliberate. Be deliberate in planning your growth. Be deliberate in what you want, if that is what you want. You don't need to see the whole staircase. Take the first step, as they would usually say. This is me just encouraging you. So practical steps if you're just starting out. If you're listening to this and thinking, yes, HR is a career for me, here is what you can do next. Research the CIPD Level 3 Foundation Certificate if you're in the UK, or find your local college or an online. If you're in Nigeria, for example, the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria, CIPM, is also there. You can work with them to acquire your diploma in personnel management. I think it's called the Professional Diploma in Personnel Management. Look for HR administrator or HR assistant roles, whether in government, job boards, apply for them. Look for apprenticeship for those who are willing to train the right person. Go on LinkedIn, find a HR professional, talk to them for 20 minutes, have a conversation about their career. Most people love to share their stories, and they will gladly do that with you. Like I said, you can choose a mentor, walk in their step, let them guide you so that you too can grow. Start following CIPD contents, HR Thought Leaders, HR Simplified. That's why you need to subscribe to this channel. There's a whole lot of learning coming here, and it's free. All you need to do is subscribe, comment, and share, and just tell others about the platform. Volunteer or get work experience from a HR team if you can. Spend a few weeks, learning about what the job is. HR is a career that rewards people who are genuinely interested in other people. Again, I cannot emphasize that enough. You have to have a genuine interest in people. And if that is you, welcome. The door is open. Welcome. The door is open. Thank you for listening to this episode of HR Simplified. If this episode gave you something to think about, I would love you to subscribe when you listen to the podcast. Please leave a comment or a review. It genuinely helps more people to find the show when you leave a comment, when you leave a review, when you give us recommendation. It will help more people, to be able to find this platform. Share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or a manager, or a student who needs to hear it. And if you are a school, maybe you're a school principal, you are a teacher, you've got like your career day, you live local to me because I don't know how far I can travel. I'm more than happy to come talk to your students about what it means to get into HR and how they can actually build a career in HR. Send me your questions. I'm very happy to read every single one of them. Give suggestions of what you would like to hear. Someone suggested this particular episode because they wanted to hear about what they can do to become a HR professional. So yeah, in this episode today, we have answered the question, so you want to be a HR professional, how to start, what to study, and why it matters. See you in the next one.